Hello. If you're watching this, potentially you've watched the entire series where I ended up shooting for England. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't, go back, check it out. What I'm going to tell you now is how to actually go through the process of getting selected for England. What scores you need, where you need to send your stuff, and hopefully it will get more people involved in the whole England setup, which would be nice. Okay, so first of all, there are 3 competitions a year that you can shoot for England. They are the Indoor Home Nations, the Outdoor Home Nations, and the Commonwealth Archery Championships of Europe, which will be known henceforth as CASE. So when I talk about CASE, you know what I'm talking about. The Indoor Home Nations. The Indoor Home Nations is part of the Indoor National Championships. So that's a WA 18 round. And for those of you who don't know, that's 60 arrows at 18 metres. Think about that one. That's for compound recurve barebow all across the board. Everybody shoots 18 metres, everybody shoots at a 40 centimetre face, and that is that. Now, there are 2 spaces available for selection on that shoot. There is also the Outdoor Home Nations, which is part of the British Target Championships. That's a 1440 round and a 720 round, and again, there are only 2 spaces per discipline per gender on that selection as well. Now, the Commonwealth Archery Championships of Europe, CASE, that's the last time I'll say the full thing, probably won't be. That is a standard WA 720, which is 72 arrows at your specific distance. But there are a minimum of 4 places per discipline per gender. So there's 4 men's recurve, 4 women's recurve, compound, barebow, etc., etc. But nations have been submitting more than 1 team at the moment, so there has currently been 8 spaces to get into the England team for CASE. So that gives a lot more variety, and there are a lot more chances to get into the England squad in that competition. Competition is fierce for the other 2. It's also fierce for CASE, but it's more doable, if that makes sense. Okay, so moving on. So how do you get selected for the England squad? Basically, you need to check the dates of the competitions. You need to make sure you're available for those dates. You need to submit a selection form, which will contain scores from previous competitions, and you need to enter the event. Even if you've not been selected, or even if you're pretty not sure if you're going to be selected, you need to go to the event. You need to go. I think the only one you don't need to go to is CASE, because that's a separate entity. But because it's part of the British Target Championships and the Indoor National Championships, you need to at least be on the target list to get in. So let's go through how you would submit a score. The basic assumption is that you have completed at least 3 competitions in the round that they're after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a dummy submission for the Indoor Home Nations so you can see what you're going to do. So the first thing you need to do is find the Archery England website. Under the homepage, you'll find a little tab called Competitions, and then you will go down to Team Selection. That's simple. Now, on Team Selection, on the right-hand side, you will be able to find a list of all the current competitions that they have got available for application. So there's a Junior National Indoor Championships, the Senior one, the Senior National Outdoor Championships, Youth Festival, and CASE. Those that are currently on there at the moment. Obviously, as time passes, that information will be irrelevant. Underneath, it will tell you what rounds you need to submit. So for the Senior National Indoor Championships, you need 3 record status WA 18 scores between 2 dates. So as long as you've shot 3 WA 18s at record status competitions and you have access to the results, then you will be able to submit a score. Okay? Right. This is the senior squad submission form. Very, very simple. At the top you will see I wish to submit for scores for, and you write down what event you want. This is not a blanket I want to shoot here. This is for a specific event. Type of bow you shoot, dead simple, recurve, compound, bare bow, whatever. The date of the event, put a link to the results. It's good if it's a hyperlink because then you can just click on it and just go straight to the results. What round was shot? Now if you're going to be doing the indoor nationals, this should be a WA 18 round. What score you got, and then a blank column. So you do that, you fill in all the columns, and then you go down and you fill it in as if you would any other competition form: mobile number, landline, name, address, Archery GB number, club, region, which is going to be, for me it's NCAS because I'm part of Cheshire. Obviously there are others. Nationality, age at the event, date of birth if under 21, male, female, and then you just sign it, date it, save it, and then send it to team selection at archeryengland.org. Now here's a bit of a kicker. There are a few dead links on the page where it will take you to the old submission form. Now this is the old submission form. Looks very, very much like the new submission form. The only difference is if you look at the email address, it's teamselection@englisharcheryfederation.org. That is no longer valid. If you try to send it there, it might not get through because I don't think it gets checked all the time. But if you end up with that form, make sure you go through the process that I showed you earlier, and that will give you the right one. Even if you can't find it, you have the proper email address now, so you should be able to just get it right there. Now, make sure you enter the event on Sport 80 for the Indoor National Championships and for the British Target Championships. You need to be entered. If you're not entered, they can't select you. That's as simple as that. You need to be on the target list. Now for case, it's a little bit different because it's its own separate entity. You will just put your scores in and you will be selected. So there's no entry fee, there's no entry to that competition. That is its own separate beast, and you will just be picked from a pot of archers and shoved into wherever they decide to hold it. It's been held at Lilleshall, Scotland is the one I went to, and I think next year it might be Northern Ireland, possibly. I don't know. So make sure you've got that done. Now, the big question: what scores do you need to represent England? Now, this is a loaded question because it can change. It can change a lot of the time. Now, what I did was I looked back for the past 3 or 4 years and I looked at the average score that you might need to get into the team. Now, on a men's WA18, it's 570 plus. For a women's, it's 540. For men's compound, it's 570, and women's compound is 560. I didn't do the bare bow ones. But even if you're not hitting these marks, put in your scores. Because what it will do is you don't know what people are putting in. So your score might be good enough. If nobody puts in, then you're in. If everybody puts in, then the best one will go through. But put your scores in, because it will let the people know, the right people know, that you are interested in shooting for England, and it will grow the pool of archers that we have available to shoot for England, which will only make us a stronger country. Which I'm all for, which would be brilliant. So yeah, they're the scores that you need on a WA18. Going back on the 1440s, you need in excess of 1250 for a men's recurve, 1200 for a women's recurve, 1340 for a men's compound, and 1360 for a women's compound. So the compound division is exceptionally tough. But again, put your score in, because you don't know what's going to happen. On a 720, it's a little bit more... For case, it's a little bit more relaxed because there are more spaces available. The score's a little bit lower for the threshold. So obviously it's a little bit higher where there's only 2 spaces available for each discipline, but where there's 8 spaces available for each discipline, there is a wider score range. So that's always positive. So again, make sure you get your scores in, and try and build the pool of archers. Now, another reason I keep saying put your scores in is because if the right people know that you're interested in shooting, England do this brilliant thing where they have what's called a development squad, and they'll have a weekend away in Eton Manor, and you will go and you will shoot 70 metres indoors, and there is training exercises and people talking from like fitness point of view, and it's just a brilliant experience. And if you're not on their radar, then they don't know to invite you to these type of things, to get you not just involved in the whole England setup, but to help develop you as an archer, because it's only in their benefit to develop as many people as possible to have the strongest squad as possible, because competition drives excellence. So I think it's a great thing that people want to shoot for England, and I think more people need to just put their scores in. Even if you are 90% certain that you are going to get nowhere near the squad, put your scores in, and it can only help. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit now about shooting for your county. So when I first started, my headspace was I need to work through the classifications, which was 3rd class, 2nd class, 1st class, bowman class. When I got to bowman class, I wanted to shoot for my county. When I got to a certain level in the county, I wanted to shoot for England. And as now, when I shoot for England, I want to get to a certain level there and end up shooting at the national level, at the Great Britain level. Now, I've not covered that now because I've never shot for Great Britain, so I don't know how to apply, what the system's like. So hopefully I'll have that experience and one day be able to bring it to you. But yeah, shooting for county, I was going to produce a video like this for shooting for county, but the thing is, every county is so different, it's impossible to do, because I would have to do it per county. Now, I shoot for Cheshire. Now, in order to shoot for Cheshire, there are so many different ways that you can do it. You email your scores in, you get invited to like a winter kind of training camp, which is like one Saturday every month for 5 or 6 months, or 5 or 6 sessions. I'm not sure if it's over 5 or 6 months. And then you would go to what's called the Cheshire Trials, and then the top people who shot at the Cheshire Trials would go and shoot a couple of competitions, and then you would enter a competition called the Cheshire Weekend. Whoever came top from that would go and shoot at what's called the 5 county shoot. Now, things are changing a little bit in Cheshire at the moment. I think there's a ranking system coming in, and it's a bit all up in the air at the moment. But again, for other counties, all you need to do is email your scores based on a competition very similar to the England style that I've just said. So if you think England's slightly above you at the moment, still put your scores in. Put your scores in. Put your scores in. I'm going to beat that into you. Put your scores in. But also have a look on your county website to see if you can shoot for your county, because the thresholds are either going to be insanely up there, insanely down there, or somewhere in the middle. But you don't know until you put your scores in. So if it's something you want, don't just sit there and think, well, I'm not really good enough. Stick them in, because then you're on the radar, and then people will know you. And people will be aware that you want to shoot. And then when someone drops out at the last minute, you could be the next man on the list, the next woman on the list. Doesn't matter. I hope it's helped. I hope to see many, many more people out there. It just means I'm going to have to work a bit harder to stay in front of you. So, bye.